There was once a man from Arcadia in southern Greece who hoped very much for a son, and when his wife gave birth to a daughter, he abandoned the child in the woods. A she-bear that lived there suckled the baby until some hunters chanced on the child and reared it, calling it Atalanta, the invincible one. Atalanta grew up to be a true daughter of the wilderness, an incomparable hunter, being instructed by the goddess of the hunt, Artemis herself. Atalanta was a runner who could outrace any man and a skillful wrestler. On one occasion, defeating the hero Peleus at Peleus's funeral games, she tried also to go on the expedition with the Argonauts to recover the golden fleece, but she was turned away by Jason, who was afraid of the trouble a beautiful young woman might cause in a crew of young men. Then Atalanta took part in the hunting of the Caledonian boar, falling in love with the Caledonian prince Meleager, and being loved in return. But as this love brought about Meleager's death, and as Atalanta was already inclined toward celibacy because of her allegiance to Artemis, she resolved on leading a solitary, manless life henceforth, especially because the oracle at Delphi warned her that marriage would cause her whole nature to be changed. So when she gave birth to Meleager's child, on her way back from the Chaldan to Arcadia, she kept it a secret and exposed the baby boy on Mount Parthenon. The child, called Parthenopeus, was found by the same shepherds who had found and reared Telephus, the son of Hercules, and the princess Auge. And he grew up to be Telephus's companion in early adventures. Eventually, Parthenopeus met his death in the War of the Seven against Thebes. Meanwhile, Atalanta had returned to her old hunting haunts, fighting off attacks of satyrs and discouraging the proposals of mortal men by stipulating each suitor should compete with her in a race in which she would be armed with a spear. The condition was that if she overtook her opponent, she might stab him to death, and in this way she had disposed of 3 suitors, cutting off their heads and displaying them beside the race course. There was a young Arcadian named Melanion who hated women as much as Atalanta hated men, and who was as fond of the chase as she was. He encountered Atalanta frequently during his hunts, and imperceptibly he fell in love with her. More and more he put himself in her way until he was faithfully following her around, carrying her hunting nets and enduring her endless disdain. Once, when a centaur, Hylius, whom Atalanta had rejected, attacked her in anger, Melanion intervened, receiving the blows of the centaur's club and even being wounded by one of the centaur's arrows while protecting Atalanta with his body. Atalanta killed the man-beast and then nursed the injured Melanion back to health, her feeling for him growing warmer all the while. Still, there was no way of winning Atalanta short of defeating her in the foot race. So in spite of all her discouragements, Melanion challenged her, but before the day of the the race, he prayed to Aphrodite, the goddess of love, for aid, and the goddess plucked 3 golden apples from the garden of the Hesperides and instructed him in their use. When the race had begun and Atalanta was drawing near, Melanion dropped 1 golden apple, and the young woman stopped to pick it up. Again she drew near, and again, and he dropped an apple, and the goddess causing them to weigh heavily in Atalanta's bosom. So, when the 3rd apple was dropped and picked up, Melanion was able to reach the goal unscathed and to claim Atalanta as his bride. But in the flush of his victory and her willing defeat, they both forgot to give thanks to Aphrodite. The goddess punished them by inflicting a rage of lust on both of them, so that they lost all control of themselves. Passing by a sanctuary of Cybele, the great mother of the gods, they fell immediately to love-making in the holy grotto near the holy temple. They behaved with such abandon that the very statues averted their eyes. The great mother was incensed and thought of killing them at once, but instead she changed Melanion into a lion and Atalanta into a lioness and made them the team that draws her chariot.